get that, because it's somebody else who's always getting hands onto it. So it is things that need to be implemented. We need to set those things right. And I think a lot of female lawyers are working on these issues about rights in marriage laws, the nikah nama, that you actually have the right to divorce. Women don't know those kind of things because it has been so patriarchal up to now. Tasneem, you wanted to say?
I just wanted to add another aspect to this debate or discussion, is the role of social media and how women are treated within that space, and how a lot of women leave that space. If you follow the trends on X or Twitter, as it was, or Meta, especially Twitter, I would say, one comment, and then there are hundreds of comments which dissect a woman's body,
Absolutely.
integrity. Everything falls on a woman's body, even if it's to demean another man. So
body and character.
Yeah, body and character,
yeah.
both. I mean, it would start from whose daughter she would be, or whose mistress she would be, and whose child would she be carrying, and whose child she has given birth to, and what all. And it actually is so disturbing for young women to come on that space and stay there. You really need to, because we are in the process of actually looking at all the words, because Twitter and Facebook both don't pick out these words in Urdu and Punjabi. They own, so we are building a lexicon that they would be able to sort of, put through the profanity filter and look at what actually is happening on this space, because this is another world, another media, another scenario, and a very, very disturbing one. So we already, we need men to understand that it is not okay to talk about any woman or her body or her character without any evidence. Even if there are evidence, the open space is no place to bring on these issues. So there has to be a campaign. So this is something that we don't generally talk about when we talk about media, but social media is the new, I would say, menace that has come up. And there is no way, it's got its plus points, but it's got a lot of negativity, and a lot of women actually leave the space, and that is what we are trying to do, to bring back women and make it an online safe space for women. Thank you.
Thank you for that input. Yes, and here I'd like, I'd like to just, yes.
So I think one of the things we need to think about is, when we are having these conversations, it's all women on the panel and mostly all women in the audience. I'm very happy that there are some men in the audience today, and thanks to Amina for making sure that they were invited to attend this. Because you're talking to the converted. And we continue to have these conversations, but what does it end up doing? How does it help?
Absolutely.
So I think these are things we need to think about, that these conversations need to be had in our offices, in our homes,
Absolutely.
in places like this, like we're doing today. But men should also be part of the panel and talk about, what is it? Are they scared that women will come up to the roles that they have? What is it going to take away from them? It isn't. We're not trying to take anything away from them. So I remember, we think Pakistan is bad, but if you look around, it's not. There are a lot of countries that are just as bad or worse. So I remember when I was in a managing director role in Hong Kong, and my partner, who was the group managing director, is British. He left and left me in charge, and there was a gentleman from Japan who came to talk about a partnership with our organization. When he found that Adrian was not there, he said, I'm not going to talk to a woman. I don't do business with a woman. And then when Adrian came back, he wrote him a letter and said, if you don't want to do business with Miss Jahara, you cannot do business with this organization. And that's the stand we need to take.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jahanara. You said you wanted to say a word?
To the question that there are other countries worse than us, to Jahan's point, there are only 4 countries worse than us in the world. and they're often war-torn, and they have a reason to be worse than us. We have no reason to be worse than us. If you look, next to us in Bangladesh, they have almost the same challenges we had. Their women are empowered, and I think this is a huge problem that we should acknowledge. The other thing I wanted to say, when we talk of patriarchy and misogyny, men actually advocate and institute patriarchy through the women. So let's not forget that it has nothing to do with gender. Patriarchy is a way of thinking where you think somebody should be subservient to someone else based on their gender.
Yeah.
So women are complacent as well sometimes.
Thank you for that input. Yeah. Mumtaz, would you like to add a few things, something before we open it up?
No, thank you. I think this was very interesting, and I agree with the comment that we should be having these conversations.
Yes.
And if we really want to make a change, perhaps the militant way that our mothers had, it had its own time, and we have to move forward and find partners. I am sure there will be men who are feminist in this audience, and we should partner with them and find new ways to bring women forward.
Yeah. So thank you. I think absolutely. It's not just Q&A के लिए अभी खुलेगा एक second. It's not a struggle for just women, because I think happiness for men also lies in equality of the sexes, right? So yeah, and just before I wanted to just add one thing that when Tasneem said how media is what happens through the social media, just want to remind you what happened to those women who brought out names of men who were harassers, and their cases just never end. They go on and on. For instance, Misha Shafiqa case. I mean, she was a powerful woman in her own right, but the case never goes in the direction that we women want them to go. And one final word I'd like to say is, when we're talking about creating dialogues, I think this is what the achievement in the last 5-6 years of Aurat March has been, that every home today talks about women's rights. They may not agree, which is fine, but brothers are asking this. It says, what are you, why do you want to go to this Aurat March, and who are these mad women who've created Aurat March? Which is fine. I don't say that everyone needs to agree with everything, but at least that dialogue is happening today in every Pakistani home, and I think that's a huge achievement of Aurat March. Now I'd like to open it to anybody who would like to talk to all these amazing women. So you can decide if you want to talk to any particular one, or you want to put a question to whoever wants to answer. It's up to you. Yes, so Salma, आप पहले.
हेलो अभी इस सेशन से पहले मैंने जो सेशन ज्वाइन किया था दश्त में समनो गुलाब, वहाँ पे जो मैं चूँकि बहुत ज़्यादा ट्रैवल करती हूँ अक्रॉस पाकिस्तान और सिंध में ख़ास तौर पे, तो अमर सिंधु और इरफाना मल्ला ने जब खाना बदोश कायम किया था तो उसके पीछे क्या था, क्योंकि हम औरतों के पास कोई स्पेस नहीं है आम औरत के पास जहाँ वो बैठ सके, आपस में गपशप कर सके, एंजॉय कर सके। मर्द तो चाय खानों में बैठ जाते हैं, औताक में बैठ जाते हैं। मेरी ख़ुद ये ऑब्ज़र्वेशन है कि जब मैं कोई सेशंस करने जाती हूँ तो आम तौर पे मुझे जो सब्जेक्ट मेरा है वो मर्दों के लिए भी उतना ही, बल्कि उसमें ज़्यादा मर्द ही मुतासर होते हैं, लड़के, लेकिन मुझे आमतौर पे औरतों की टेबल पे बिठा दिया जाता है खाने के वक्त। तो मुझे सिवाय कराची को छोड़ के या लाहौर को छोड़कर आप पाकिस्तान की अक्सर शहरों में यही माहौल पाएंगे कि जैसे ही आपका वो ख़त्म होगा सेशन, औरतें एक तरफ हो जाएंगी, मर्द एक तरफ हो जाएंगे। अरे भाई, हम सब एक जैसे इंसान हैं, तो आपस में मिलो जुलो, एक मेज़ पे बैठ के खाना खाओ, एक औताक में बैठ के बातचीत करो। ये क्या कि औरतों को अंदर भेज दिया जाए और मर्द जो है अपने औताक में बैठ जाएं या अपने ड्राइंग रूम्स में बैठ जाएं। तो मेरा ख्याल है इस तरह के सेशंस की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत कराची से बाहर करने की है। सक्खर में कीजिए, मैं भी हाल ही में सक्खर में होकर आई हूँ, लाड़काना में कीजिए, इन जगहों पे जाइए, वहाँ ऐसे सेशंस कीजिए
Thank
ताकि
you,
कुछ
Salma.
जाग
बिल्कुल
आए।
आपने सही कहा कि basically segregation जो है sexes का, that is obviously not only an unnatural thing, but it is in today's age very harmful. We can have a few more people comment so that
Just
everyone.
can I respond to it very quickly? जहान आरा ने earlier कहा था कि मर्द क्यों नहीं अपनी power share करते हैं, क्या वो डरते हैं? असल में मर्द औरतों से डरते नहीं हैं, इतना pitiful है औरत का state और जनाना state जिसे हम कहते हैं कि एक औरत जो है ना, I mean like the ultimate fear is that if we touch that sad weak part of society, खुदा ना खास्ता हम ना weak हो जाएं, which is why the औरत march was so frightening जब स्लोगन था कि अपना खाना खुद गर्म करो, उनको डर लग रहा था कि ऐसे तो नहीं है कि हमें करना पड़े तो हम औरत बन जाएंगे.
Thank you. Ji, yes, ma'am.
Hello,
Let her and then we can have you. Yeah.
so I find a little bit of a contradiction in the entire discourse when we have feminism. We are talking about equality multiple times, the word was used, but then we also talk about religion. The elephant in the room is Sharia law. It will never allow women to be equal. How many imams are women, or how many in the ulama, or any of these decision making, as we say, corporate, but we never touch religious institution. I wonder why. So I don't think real change is possible until we challenge that. And yes, Hazrat Khatija was a powerful figure, but that had nothing to do with Islam. She was that before Islam, and the entire wealth was her ex-husband, her father, that she used as trading. And once she married and became Muslim, she then became a housewife. So that aspect, you know, we love to glorify her, which we should, but then she wasn't a self-made woman. So I think this is something we need to challenge and have maybe a religious figure, a male religious figure, or a female, and lawyers, even inheritance, you know, even just getting half is considered, why not equal? Like, aren't we talking about equality? So we need to change that discourse, I feel, as well.
Thank you, Mary. Yes, there's a gentleman at the back who wants to say something. You wanted to say something, the gentleman at the back? No, so there was a, whoever, okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ma'am, just a brief answer to that. We all agree with what you're saying, but, you know, there are blasphemy laws in this country. So we have to be a bit careful, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, we'll have a discussion on this.
My name is Amanullah Sand. I'm founder Teacher Development Webinars, and first of all, thank you so much for such a discussion, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And more power to you all, powerful women. My question is for Jahara especially. First of all, congratulations on your Satara Imtiaz. And then, I would like to ask, how was it for you to choose, tech as a field? And, because we have again segregated, fields that this is for women and this is for male. So, going to technology, and, I would like you to talk about your journey in tech and how has it been, so far. Thank you.
So it wasn't a Sitare Imtiaz, it was a Tamga Imtiaz. I want to clarify that, don't want to claim something I had gotten. I did not choose technology as a field. Technology chose me. I sort of slipped into it. I was doing something that I wanted to do. I was using technology, and before I knew it, I was part of the Technology Association and a very integral part. So I would say technology chose me, and right now, जो भी चीज़ें हो रही हैं इस मुल्क में, आप बिजनेस में हो, एजुकेशन में हो, गवर्नमेंट में हो, without technology you cannot really be as effective. So I think that's something that we all need to realize, and also something that we need to tell young women and young men, that this is something that you cannot avoid. Use it to your advantage. तो मैं ये करती हूँ कि मैं यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में जाती हूँ, schools में भी अब जाने लगे हैं हम लोग, to talk to young women, to say, listen, these are the areas that are open to you. Don't let anyone tell you that you can just be a teacher. And I don't mean to be disrespectful of teachers. Some of the things I'm able to do today is because of the awesome teachers I had. But as professions, we should not be limited to just teaching and healthcare. There are so many professions that are open to us, and we should have that freedom to choose whichever profession we want. अब journalism में अगर तस्नीम है, तो she chose it, and now she is using it to help a lot of people. तो मेरे ख्याल में professions choose you because of what you believe. और मेरे साथ यही हुआ, and I would thank my parents because they said do what your heart tells you to do. But just remember that whatever you do, make sure you are protected because the world is not an easy place in order to make something of yourself. So that warning they did give me, and so I was always careful. Magar, you can be what you want to be, and we need to tell young women in universities, in schools, that wherever they come from, and I think I think Salma or somebody said we need to have these conversations outside of Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad.
Of course.
Yes, we do, and we are having those conversations. My team was in Peshawar yesterday, they're in Faisalabad next week. So we're trying to go outside Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad. We were in Hyderabad last week.
And I think the festivals are also trying to
The
go
festivals
outside,
are also
so.
doing that, but there's only so much
Yeah.
one unit can do. We need to collaborate so that we can spread this much further because it costs money, it costs time, it costs to bring the kind of people that we have at the Adab festival to Karachi. It must have cost a lot in terms of effort and money. So we need to make sure that somebody does that.
Yeah. So I think we need to close. So I'll ask everyone to give their last words one by one. Whoever wants to start. Yeah.
It's not on.
जी किसी ने ये कहा था कि it's always segregated जब खाना लगता है. So the easiest way that I have followed is take my plate and go to the men's side. I mean, they feel uncomfortable.
Tasneem, I think you're not clear. Can you pull the mic close?
Yeah, so,
that's better.
So take your plate and go to the men's side and sit there. I mean, they'll feel uncomfortable initially, but you start to make talks, and that's how you break the silence and break the taboo. One. As far as going to the people is concerned, I have trained journalists across Pakistan, from Gilgit to interior of Sindh to Punjab, and these are all men. And I would say, like, those big 6-foot men, and being the only woman trainer, and come up with anecdotes, come up with your own story, and come up with the kind of interaction that you would like to have with them. And it changes mindset. It's taken 26 years for me to come here.
Struggle.
So it's a long journey, but it happens. Thank you.
Wait.
Can I,
Some last words?
In terms of last words, I just want to thank you for your question. I think it's a very important question and we should address it. It is the elephant in the room. I do want to say that there are a lot of countries in the world that may not have the religious, cultural backwardness maybe that we espouse, but they're still very retrogressive. Case in point, Dr. Ford and the Kavanaugh hearings, for instance, right? I mean, we saw Johnny Depp and the way the trials were done with Amber Heard. The thing is that the world itself is very conveniently looked at the power and the contribution, including free labor that women give, and decided not to honor it. And it serves a lot of people. And so therefore it's very hard for those in power to give up power because it will be uncomfortable. You might need to heat your own food, you might need to share your wealth, you might need to put your property in the name of the people around you and the women around you. So it's super inconvenient. I don't think it has so much to do with religion or culture than it has to do with the interpretation of the law particularly. Our constitution guarantees is if we want to give women's rights, we can actually do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's very nice. Jean, yes.
Because this topic was not addressed during the conversation, so I would like to say a few words about women creating an environment for women.
Absolutely.
We all know of women where we are not encouraging towards each other.
Yeah.
There are women who discourage each other, and you will find them in your family, you will find them at workplace, you will find them in society. So it is also very important that women, we provide that kind of space, especially for young women, young mothers, young colleagues, so that they have a pathway to success.
Thank you, Mumtaz. That's such an important input you've given. You want to say some few words?
So I just wanted to follow up and reinforce what was
That's
just
what
said.
you're doing, yeah.
Because not only, obviously, it's one of our priorities at Ladies Fund, giving women space, but for Adab Festival to build a panel of power women. And I think it's really important to showcase role models and space for women. It is an act of women supporting women, just us being here and those who've flown in for this event for that. I also recognize that we all know there's many companies and spaces that don't yet have women's bathrooms. We know there's spaces where the law keeps asking you to fill in your father's name or your husband's name or so forth, and those are rights that need to be evolved. But technically, the Educator Girl program we have, the laws of Pakistan give equal rights of education to men and women, to boys and girls. So it's the practice and the implementation, as Shima was saying earlier.
Absolutely.
And panels like this are about finding solutions to continue to push for that implementation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful. So, yes, you have something, Johanna?
Yeah, just to say that there are two industries that I've been a part of. One was the shipping industry. At that time, there were no women in the shipping industry. And then the tech industry, at that time, you walked into a room, there were 100 men and I was the only woman. But things have changed. Things have changed. And a lot of young women have decided that they are going to claim their space. Now all we need to do is to push it a little further and encourage them to take on the leadership roles, the board roles. So SECP is saying on the board of each listed company there should be at least one woman is not good enough. It should be at least 30%, 40%, and then 50% women.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I know that there are, there is an organization called HR Metrics, of which I'm also on the steering committee, and it is run by a man, but he has said that when people say there are not enough qualified women in this country, where are we going to find them to put on the boards? He has published 2 directories of capable, competent, certified women whom they can pick from. And this is something we need to do. When somebody lies and says there are no women, I don't know about them, put this before them and say, here they are, introduce them to people you know who are qualified, because that's the only way that things are going to change.
Wonderful, thank you. I think this has been very exciting and interesting. I'd like to, before we end, I'd like to point out that there's not only these women who are sitting here on the stage, but in front of us there's so many women. Kishwara Apa ka to zikr hua, there's Rabia Javeri sitting there, I see Beena Shah sitting there, I see Amber sitting there, I see Hareem sitting there. There's so many women who have, sorry, I don't know if I'm trying to see. Of course, Amina in her does not even need to be mentioned because she's created this space for all of us. So thank you all for being here. It has been wonderful. If anybody from the audience wants to say any final word, because as one of you said, this should be a moment that we can find that how we move forward from this. So if anybody wants to add something, you're most welcome, either from here or from that side. Thank you all. Anybody wants to add something?
I think you've concluded at 7.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and it was such a pleasure to have all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I need to ask you about the Christmas. As it was rations.
Moving on to our next session, and the title of the next session is Cricket and the Pakistani Imagination, exploring the many facets of cricket and its impact on Pakistani life, character and conscience. The moderator of this session is Saad Shafkat, and the speakers are Hadid Ubaid, Salman Faridi, and Qamar Ali. I would like Saad Shafkat to please come on stage and introduce yourself and your speakers. Saad Shafkat.
थैंक यू अस्सलाम वालेकुम आई थिंक अभी आज़ान शुरू हो गई है तो थोड़ा 2 मिनट वेट कर लें
Lay, 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 check, lay. Lay, 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 check, 1, 2, lay, check, lay, lay, 1, 2, lay, 1, 2, lay, lay, 1, 2, lay, lay, 1, 2, lay, lay.
lay, check 1, 2, lay.